even the big AI labs are sort of running out of puff in terms of promising what will happen. We've seen the likes of OpenAI fall back to starting to become more of a search engine almost, adding in.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the CC CX update and the latest edition of Discovering Disruptors, where we put some of the big brands in our space to one side for a moment and focus the spotlight on some products and vendors that maybe you don't know as much about, but you definitely want to be considering bringing into those RFPs. Today, a brand that you probably know, but maybe don't know as much about their product set as you need to, and that's coming from IP Integration. And I'd like to welcome and thank Steve Murray for joining us here today. So Steve, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having me on, James. We're excited to be here. So I'm Steve Murray. So I head up product and development at IP Integration. Been at the company for 11 years now, which is a bit scary when I say that. It doesn't feel anywhere near that long. Previously to that, worked at some sort of larger NASDAQ listed businesses, larger MSPs, but came back to the ranch now, as I said, just about a decade ago. Yeah, that's heading up my role there now.
Brilliant. And as we can see from the branded attire there, what we're going to be talking about today. So this series is about disruptors, as I said, in that CCaaS and CX market. So what do you think makes Elastic CX and then also Cloud PCI, one of your other products there, stand out as a disruptor from the larger platforms and vendors out there?
Yeah, it's a good question, James. So we've been probably on a bit of a journey as a business, certainly over the last sort of 6 years or so. For many years we were a reseller ourselves, working with the usual suspects, some of the larger vendors. But our differentiator, I think, was we had this really smart group of people who would get involved in creating what at the time were kind of integrations to make those larger vendor products work better. So what we've actually done is sort of gone on a journey really of becoming a product house and then a vendor in our own right, really taking all of that knowledge from the UK and global contact center and CX space and actually then pouring it in to create our own products. So I think we probably we felt the pain, I think, of working with some of those large vendors over the years. And I think we sort of decided that we wanted to do things very, very differently with our own products, address real customer problems with those products, not necessarily be at the behest of perhaps a product house that sat a little bit disconnected in Silicon Valley. And we wanted to really solve real world challenges and problems for our customers across the world with our products.
And where's the platform, be that Elastic CX or Cloud PCI, where's that currently in terms of functionality and what's on the roadmap for them?
Well, we've got a lot to share, that's for sure. So since we launched Elastic CX, so we tend to do 4 major feature drops over the course of a year. Right. So we have our kind of dot 1, 2, and 3 and 4 releases over the course of the year. We tend to release anywhere between 150 to 200 features within those drops. So I'm not going to sit here and list every single one out, but that will include, of course, functional UI, enhancements and changes, as well as what we'd probably like to think of as those bigger ticket, fundamental, feature drops as well. Within the platform at the moment, and it's probably not going to come as any surprise to you or any of the listeners or viewers, we have a huge focus, of course, on AI. We've actually been able to take a very, very different approach, I think, to some of the, I call them larger vendors and some perhaps the legacy vendors, because we have such a newer architecture than some of those players. We've been able to do some really, really clever stuff with the way we integrate AI as a channel into the core of the platform, which means that we can swap in and swap out different large language models, different agentic vendors to drive the best possible outcome, within a particular use case for a customer. And as far as we're aware, that's still a very kind of unique approach in the market. But what it's meant is that it's been very, very easy for our customers, or some of our customers, to start to adopt and consume the AI capabilities we offer within the platform to start to drive some real world benefits. Because I think one of the things we've seen, certainly from some of the larger vendors, and I think the feedback directly from our customers and our partners,
Mm.
is that a lot of the larger vendors have been shouting about AI for the last couple of years, or the last few
Yeah.
years, and they've been really shouting about it at a feature and a capability level. But it's, well, where are your case studies? Where are the real world customers who've adopted and are seeing real change and really sort of shifting the dial in their business, off the back of this capability? And I think a lot of those customers out there have stalled, and there's been as we know, there's been a lot of failures. Depending on the analyst group you read, I think
Yeah.
Forrester was saying up to 85% of AI deployments have essentially failed to meet the objective and the target. So it's how we, I think, as a vendor of a platform, can make it really simple for a customer to start to understand and then start to consume, to ultimately drive benefits within their organization.
Yeah, that links really nicely with what I wanted to ask next. And yeah, it's coming across you're talking a lot about connected to the customer, ground level, adding value, real close alignment. And one of the things I was interested in, and you mentioned it there, was a case study. So from your time, dealing with Elastic CX and Cloud PCI, without naming any names, unless you really want to, what's been like, the most memorable customer challenge that the team or the product have risen to, or perhaps just the biggest challenge that the platform itself has overcome that you're most proud of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's been a lot of success. We launched ECX in December 2022, and it's sort of in that time, it's sort of it's quite difficult to sort of call out all of the amazing stuff that the team and our partners have delivered during that time. I'd say if I had to sort of call a few of those things out, though. So from a partner perspective, we migrated 22 partner customers within about a 4-week period onto Elastic CX. So their contractual agreement with their existing partner was coming to an end. They had 22 partner customers within their base. Within the space of just over 4 weeks, we were able to migrate all of them with zero downtime, onto
Wow.
Elastic CX. So the customers were onboarded, consuming and benefiting from the functional improvements on ECX within that time. So a mammoth undertaking, but I think it stood up to the way in which we engage with our partners and customers, and also how smooth that process can be, when migrating from perhaps one provider onto another. Since the launch of Cloud PCI, again, we that was Elastic CX specifically, but since the launch of Cloud PCI, we've had some great successes. I think one of the proudest moments for me last year with Cloud PCI was when the team were able to solve a technical challenge that it was a major airline. Their incumbent PCI partner weren't able to actually offer a viable technical solution, so they were actually operating out of PCI compliance, using our competitor. They were concerned about this. Clearly, they were paying for a solution that wasn't delivering what they wanted. So they engaged with the team here, alongside that CCaaS vendor who they were using, and we were able to show them how, through some integration work with Cloud PCI, we were able to get them onto a secure, compliant payment solution for their digital agents, and that's actually going live this week. So touch wood. I have no doubt it'll be a smooth one. But I could give you dozens more, but those are two stand out. One from not far off launch of ECX, one more recently on Cloud PCI.
So I guess what I'm taking from what you said there, the earlier one near a launch, bearing in mind it was near a launch as well, speed and scale, not a problem, which I know with disruptors can be something that sometimes clients look at and they say, well, with the smaller businesses, can we achieve that? And then the thing that you pointed out then with PCI Cloud, or Cloud PCI, sorry, is something that I think disruptors are really good at and should be highlighted, which is that ability to say, well, if you've got a problem, we are more adaptable and agile, and maybe we can get a solution for you where some of the bigger vendors can't, because perhaps, as you said earlier on, they're a little more disconnected from the customer. But actually, it is about bringing that agility and adaptability into your RFP process and saying, well, look at some disruptors, because you might be able to solve a problem that otherwise you didn't think you could, really. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to do all these interviews as well. And I mean, I know you've already mentioned it, but it isn't an interview in the CX world unless we mention AI. So what do you tell your potential customers and prospects specifically about the benefits of AI within the Elastic CX platform? You mentioned you do it in a unique way, but what is it you specifically think it brings to the table for them?
Yeah, so I think, probably to reference the sort of point I made a little bit earlier, I think we see a lot of I'd call it AI fatigue, I think, out there in the market with both partners and end customers. Yeah. Who, whether it's the kind of hyperscale cloud vendors, whether it's their people who provide their kind of desktop applications, everyone's screaming about AI, and customers are really trying to sort of cut through the smoke and mirrors, really, and go, well, what does it actually mean to me? What practically can I do? And I think we can break that into a couple of different approaches, really, when it comes to AI and also more generally, and then AI within something like ECX. So there are options within ECX which mean you can very, very quickly start to use AI within your workflows, within your contact center to drive outcomes. And I think that's what we always say at IPI here, is that AI is just another tool within the kit bag of tools that we have, within ECX or any of our other products. But ultimately, what customers are trying to achieve is a very, very similar set of deliverables to the ones they've been trying to do for the last probably 25 years within the contact center. They want to increase capacity, they want to reduce cost, and they want to provide a better customer expressed experience. And those three things haven't fundamentally changed in the 20 odd years I've been in the industry. We just happen to have this thing now called AI, which can probably do it a bit faster and at bigger scale and probably quicker. So we see some of those core, if you like, easy adoption capabilities are where the AI can perform in its own right against the activities and workflows that are happening in the contact center. So that could be something as simple as AI providing automated wrap-up codes, or automated disposition codes, automated summarization and next actions of notes. And the AI can do that, of course, by just sitting in the audio stream of the interaction, or receiving feed from the digital interaction, and can perform all that. So it's not heavy lifting, and it allows customers to really sort of proof of concept or trial those AI capabilities, so they can actually really clearly see the benefit coming in, the time saving, the compression of the after call handle time, etc. Moving on a stage further, you then start to get into kind of self-service and starting to use kind of agentic workflows to drive full customer containment, full self-service journeys. What we have here, and this is sort of my view of the market and what I see, is that there is a really consistent set of challenges for the adoption of organizations on these agentic workflows, as there were trying to deliver a speech-enabled IVR, 10 to 15 years ago. And that comes around the data accessibility layer. So being able to get into those customer systems of record, the CRM platforms. We were talking to a client a few weeks ago, and they were saying that an agent in their organization has to go into potentially 20 different systems to fulfill a customer request. And that's the challenge that full agentic self-service AI still has. It's how does it get into the right information and right data sources, because those APIs might not be there today. and
Mm.
that's where AI adoption will start to stall in terms of potentially driving that really kind of huge benefit, which all of the large vendors are sort of making those promises, but we've still got that data access challenge to solve in a lot of
Mm.
client organizations. So I'd say those are the kind of the two sort of scenarios you've got to, it's easy to start proving AI benefit when you're using native AI, proving that benefit, in those more enterprise self-service environments is still proving a little bit challenging for some customers. But what I would say at a customer level, don't worry, because pretty much everyone is in the same boat at the moment, and everybody's trying to work out how to solve those within their organization.
Yeah, brilliant. And we've mentioned your customers a few times. I mean, so if there are people, potential customers, or people that are connected to potential customers listening, and they're reviewing their current platform on tools, what sort of company should get in touch with the IPI team? What sort of potential customer?
Yeah, so I think what we've always said is what we wanted to do with ECX was we wanted to bring, truly enterprise grade, customer experience tools right the way down into the hands of small to medium enterprises. Now, the reality is that small to medium enterprises make up the mainstay, of UK PLC, as it
Yeah.
were. And if you look across various analyst reports, I think Cavell were talking just last year about the average UK contact center kind of being around about 127 agent positions. So, at a size and scale point, we think we can address, from very, very small organizations right the way up to the mid-market and well beyond with ECX. And it's organizations who probably want practical help of deploying a kind of next generation AI powered, contact center and customer experience orchestration platform. And that's sort of organizations who should be contacting IPI and our partners to talk about ECX.
Brilliant. And then lastly, so outside of your own product suite there, what are your predictions for the development of the CX platform world next year, 2026? And what do you see growing in popularity or perhaps otherwise fading away?
Yeah, it's a bit of crystal ball gazing. So this is
Yep.
what, key part of the kind of product leader's role, really. So
Yeah.
I think the way I see it, I think AI is sort of reaching this critical inflection point in 2026 and beyond. And I think there may even be a sort of a bit more of a pragmatic reset, I think, for AI, kind of to
Mm.
the points we were making earlier on, where I think even the big AI labs are sort of running out of puff in terms of promising what will happen. We've seen the likes of OpenAI fall back to starting to become more of a search engine almost. Adding in the ability to purchase straight from ChatGPT, for example. So I think those guys are actually really going, how are we monetizing this? How are we actually funding, the billions we're spending in data center and GPU fit out. So I think there is just going to be a bit more of a reset across AI as a whole in the organization, and at a client level and at a partner level. I think partners are going to be looking for vendors who can really demonstrate and prove that their kind of other partners and customers are adopting and driving value out of this. People aren't just going to buy AI because it's AI anymore.
Hmm.
And I think a few people were burnt by doing that, over the
Yep.
last couple of years. I think we're going to see wary customers really seeking genuine proof of value and successful examples that they can follow. Because let's be honest, not everyone out there wants to be bleeding edge. There's lots of people who want to follow and fast follow. So they want to see that value beyond the hype. I think the view around agentic AI going, we're going to very quickly accelerate beyond simple generative kind of chatbots, and really start to move into harnessing technologies like MCP to provide much more autonomy around decisions and really kind of start to orchestrate those end-to-end processes, providing, to caveat my earlier point, that data accessibility
Yeah.
is there, and that actually that AI can get into the data to really contain end to end. And I think at a kind of then operational, I guess, level, I think we're going to really start to see a shift away from what I sort of, me and some of the team here call these kind of vanity metrics, and really start to look beyond that into what drives meaningful impact within a CX operation now, particularly as we start to weave in AI to these processes. So they're going to, those sort of, those new metrics are going to be around things like, how do we give time back, time back to customers and to employees, not just cost cutting or, average handle time or these kind of legacy metrics that we see. So I think it's going to be this focus on time saved, faster resolutions, and a more kind of seamless interaction across all those channels they're now starting to offer out. So I guess there's a bit of a view, my view, spitballing, I suppose, on both the kind of tech aspect and what we're probably going to see at a more operational level within the CX space as well.
Yeah, that resonates with what a lot of people are saying, I think, especially that kind of pause and reset on AI and look for real world value rather than just hype. It's got to that stage now of maturity where people are saying, okay, well, show me then. And that's what we're starting to hear. Well, look, Steve, really appreciate your time as always. If anyone listening to this is intrigued and thinks, oh, hey, I'd love to find out a bit more about that, how can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, or obviously put an inbound contact in via the IPI website, and one of the team or me will be very glad to take you through what we're up to, and take you through both ECX and Cloud PCI.
And you guys are busy at a lot of events as well, I know. So obviously where we're recording this now, Expo in the UK is just a little bit later on this week, but I know you guys are getting out into events at Nashville and things like that. So look out for IP integration at the next event you're attending as well. And Steve, once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much, James.